him, Allah is forgiven. So the same situation, and yet two different answers completely, because a true scholar, a true knowledgeable person analyzes situation and gives the answer based on it, not based on a dry answer that doesn't mean anything. And this is the spirit of Islam. This is where we have to learn. Even though I might have knowledge, but maybe I don't have the enough smart maybe or ability to ask the right question to see where is the situation, because it is a living issue. We cannot just give answers based on here's a question and here's an answer. It is based on the environment, based on what's happening, and what from these two stories we shared, you have to know, rather than just give an answer that could harm you and harm others. There's a lot more to come. Please stand by for this break. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Spirit of Islam. And as I mentioned earlier, today I am talking about the true spirit of Islam that every Muslim has to learn and apply, because this is the beauty of Islam, and this is when people see us practicing this Islam, everybody would love it and would attract and make people more understanding from Islam, rather than what I call this dry thing that we try to apply. And Islam is so wonderful, Islam is so flexible, Islam is so easy, but we have to understand it, and we have to understand the spirit. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ tells us about a man who went to give a charity. He had some money he wanted to give to charity. So at night he leaves his home to give the charity. And when he leaves the home, he finds a lady, and he gives her the money. And in the morning, somebody sees him and says, I seen you give this lady some money. He said, yeah, it was charity I wanted to give. He said, well, charity could not apply to her. She's a lady of the night, and it's not right, it will not be accepted. So he decided next night he will go and give money again. So he goes in the street at night and sees this man. He gives him the money, and in the morning another person asks him, I seen you giving this man some money. He says, yes, it was charity. He said, no, that's not applicable to him. He's a thief, and now you've wasted your money. So the third night he goes again to give charity, and he finds a man. He thinks he's a poor man. He gives him the money, and again in the morning somebody says, I seen you give this person money. He says, yes, it's charity I was giving for the sake of Allah. So this person tells him, no, it's not applicable to this man. He's a rich man. So this man goes to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and said, I give up, Ya Rasulullah. The first night she told me it's a lady of the night. The second night they told me it was a thief. The third night they told me it was a rich man. And each one said it's not applicable. He said each time it was accepted. The lady of the night, maybe when you gave her, she would realize that there are good people out there, and she stopped doing it. The thief, when you gave him, maybe he would realize that there is good, kind people, and he doesn't need to steal anymore. And the rich person, when you gave him, maybe he'll be embarrassed and start giving himself. Your charity was accepted all the time, don't worry. And this is the spirit of Islam. Us as Muslims, when you reflect on this story, a lot of us as Muslims worry. I have to make sure, I want to be a social worker before I give the charity. Here, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, don't worry, it is the intention that counts. And when you give, that's what counts. Another story that I really love, it says that a man was sleeping in his home, and he got a kind of an inspiration that get up, there is a young man in such and such masjid or mosque, and you should give him the money. So he gets dressed, takes food and money, and go to this place, and yes, God behold, there is this young man who is praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and once he finished praying, this man approached him and says, here, all this is for you. And the young man thanks him, and then the older gentleman tells him, you seem like a good guy. In a way, here's my address. Anytime you need something, please feel free to come to me, and I'll give you anything you want. So the young man looks at him and smiles and says, I come to you? He says, yeah, feel free anytime. He said, I raised my hand to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He woke you up in the middle of the night to come to me. And then you say, next time I come to you, when I need something, I go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. This is a young man who understood Islam, who applied Islam. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us, إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلْ اللَّهِ. If you ask Allah. If you need help, seek help from Allah. So why? Us as Muslims have forgotten this. Mostly have forgotten. And when we ask a human, and we ask and ask. And then when nobody helps us, we go back to Allah. Why not circuit this and go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly? And as he woke up this man to go and help this young man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help us, as it says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيب أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. If my worshippers, my servants ask about me, I am close, I answer the prayer of those who ask me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers those who ask. So why don't we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He will give us, insha'Allah. Prophet Muhammad also tell us about a man who told another man, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive you. He committed a sin, and this person, being a pious person, decided that Allah would not forgive this person for committing this sin. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gets angry and He says, who speaks from my tongue? Who decides for me that who I forgive and who I don't forgive? I have forgiven him and not forgiven you. And this is very important. When we see somebody do something wrong, we should not jump on them. We advise them nicely, but no, we should never say to somebody, Allah would never forgive you, because the forgiveness is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, we all go to Al-Jannah, to heaven, with the mercy of Allah, not with our deeds. So it's the mercy of Allah that takes us to heaven, not with our deeds. So the companions asked, even you, Ya Rasulullah? He said, yes, even me. And he gave the example of somebody who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 70 years, day and night. All he does is worship Allah. So in the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells this man, go, I have forgiven you, go to Al-Jannah. But this man is human just like all of us. The man says, well, Ya Allah, I've worked so hard for this time, I want to see my account. I want to see how I did, how I fared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, go to Al-Jannah with my mercy. The man, we're stubborn. I work so hard. I deserve this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the angels, okay, start putting on the scale all his good deed and put his eyesight on the other. And his eyesight was much more than all his good deed, and the man realized that maybe he did not pay back as much as he should to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and says, Ya Allah, let me go to Al-Jannah, to heaven, with your mercy, not with my deed, and Allah forgives him and sends him to Al-Jannah. So this is a very important point, that yes, we have to do good deeds, and yes, we should work, but realize it is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that forgives. Because if we look, we do, we mix good deeds with bad deeds, and most of us as humans, our bad deeds is probably more than our good deeds, but we hope to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and send us to Al-Jannah, inshallah. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam went to visit a Bedouin, what we call an Arabi, and after, the man was very generous to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to Prophet Muhammad. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ask me whatever you like. So the man thinks and says, I want so many sheep. So many sheep, And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam looks at him and says, I had wished you asked like the old lady of Bani Israel, an old lady from the children of Israel. So the companion asked, who is this old lady from the children of Israel? They say that when Moses was taking the children of Israel out of Egypt into Sinai, some of them said, we cannot leave Egypt without the body of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, because they were told they should take the body of Prophet Joseph with them. So he asked, who knows where he's buried? And nobody knows except an old lady. They go to the old lady and say, please tell us where is Prophet Yusuf buried? And she said, I will tell you with one condition. So Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Moses asked her, what is this condition? She says, I will be your neighbor in Al-Jannah. He says, I can't offer you this. It's not up to me, it's up to Allah. But I'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he asked Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits him to tell her that yes, she will be his neighbor in Al-Jannah. And she tells them where Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was buried. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is telling this man, when you ask us something like this, you are given an opportunity to ask for everlasting happiness, and yet most of us only ask for money in this dunya, in this life, and we don't ask for others. We have to balance it and ask for both, inshallah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam give us an example. They say that a man, again from previous generations, let's say was on a boat and selling milk, and let's say he has 3-4 liters of milk. He wants to double the price, so he puts 3-4 liters of water. on them, and he is selling the milk. You know, this way it's diluted and he gets double the money. But the man had a small monkey beside him, and as this man sells the milk and collects the money, the monkey takes half the money and throws in the water, subhanallah, from behind his back. And what this example shows us, and it's very important, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watches us. And yes, this man thought that he's making double the money, but the haram money, the bad money goes away. And in most cases it goes away and takes the good money with it. So we have to watch. We have to watch and only earn good money. So this man was better off selling the milk intact and be satisfied with the profit, but now he lost half his money, and we are always warned that bad money takes good money with it. So we have to be careful. This example shows us the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the man lost half his money.